Dear Pro Wrestling, welcome to the world's most dangerous podcast. And as the world's most dangerous game, I gotta put you on game like only I can. And let's be clear, some people ain't gonna like some of the stuff I'm about to say, and quite frankly, I don't give a damn, okay? Then that just means this ain't the pod for you. This is for people who want to evolve, grow, and know how to get through this thing called pro wrestling. If that happens to be you, then let's make like Darkwing Duck and let's get dangerous. And just like your first day of pro wrestling school, let's lock up, let's lock in, and let's get into it. Because this is a podcast for wrestlers, by wrestlers. And just to give y'all some insight, we may touch on certain things like current events in wrestling. We may touch on what's going on certain shows, but that's not what this pod is about. This pod is about putting people on game who need to be put on game. So welcome to Dear Pro Wrestling. Now, I find it funny of what I'm going to talk about subject matter wise, because I was just at a show last night. I was at Chaos Wrestling up in Michigan. Shout out to Chaos. And while I was there was a bunch of young guys in the locker room. A lot of times, you know, I haven't been in the business super long, but I've been around business for a long time. And so a lot of times I end up being that locker room leader, putting people on game. And just hearing some of the conversations in that locker room made me want to specifically do this particular episode. I am titling this episode Part 1 of How to Make Your Money Work for You in Pro Wrestling. And what I mean by that is far too often I hear professional wrestlers, especially on the indie scene, talk about how, you know, they could always be making more money, or sometimes money is tight, or you know, the envelopes aren't coming in like they want to. The way the envelope is set up, they got to check is in their savings and all their booking money is in their savings, all their rates in their savings. But I feel like a lot of the reasons why people go through these struggles and these strife is because they don't know nor understand how to make this work for them. And what I mean by this is, first and foremost, a lot of pro wrestlers look at themselves as pro wrestlers. That's the first mistake. If you're listening to this and you are a pro wrestler, even if you're a manager, referee, if you are a wrestling promoter or booker, at the end of the day, you are not a wrestler or all these other titles. You are a product. You are the candy bar, you are the shampoo, you are the toilet paper on that shelf, and you are next to other candy bars, you are next to other toilet paper, you're next to other shampoo. And you're probably asking yourself, what's the deal with this analogy? Well, it's a matter of you are a product that's competing against other products. I was on a show last night, and on that show, there were at least 19 other people in that locker room, not including me. Every time you walk in a locker room, you have to ask yourself, what makes me different from the next man? What sets me apart? Why is my match important? Why is me being here important? Why should the audience care? Why should the booker and the promoter care? Why should people in this locker room want to recommend me somewhere or want to work with me? Why should people want to buy into my product? And it comes down to how you invest in yourself. But can you invest in yourself? Can you invest in your product? Can you be different so someone wants to buy into you versus somebody else if you don't know how to invest in yourself? And a lot of times that investment comes financially. And depending on where you're at, whether it's experience, whether it's years in, you got to find a way to make your money work for you. You have to. First and foremost, I think one of the smartest and easiest things to do in pro wrestling, EIN numbers. You got to get an EIN number. And how do you get an EIN number? You make an LLC. Turn yourself into an LLC. For me, I have been in entertainment my entire life. You know, I just turned 29 this past summer. I have been acting and performing and on stage and in studios and doing some type of entertainment and performing arts since I was 3 years old. So I have spent 26 out of 29 years doing this. I've spent more time in entertainment than I haven't been in entertainment. And I say all this because when I made my LLC, I made it so that way it was under the scope of entertainment. So my LLC can make money whether I'm doing stand-up comedy, motivational speaking, doing stuff on like YouTube and TikTok, pro wrestling, because that's my brand. The Paragon brand is entertainment and helping people. And even when we're in that ring, a lot of times we're helping people, whether they're escaping what they're going through, what they're dealing with, whatever may have you. But that is my brand. That is the product I sell, is entertainment. Now, there are deeper dives in entertainment. And the reason why I say that is because, like, if you look at certain companies and their brands, like sometimes the company is a brand that has sub-brands, like Kellogg and Nestle. You may not realize other things that they own, you know. And so like Paragon LLC, you know, is in stand-up comedy, you know, but and that brand is, you know, me doing comedy mixed with humor and my life experience and my perspective. And then when pro wrestling, my brand is, you know, my mixed martial arts background, my creativity, my cunning, my look, my flair, my flash, my character development, my acting, my writing, my promos. You got to figure out what your brand is. But we're not going to be talking about branding right now. We're going to save branding for either episode 2 or episode 3. Right now, we're talking about having that LLC, and with that LLC, using that to help your brand make some money. And then once you set up your LLC, you get that EIN number. A very, very huge thing that people don't realize is tax write-offs. Tax write-offs are going to be a key to truly making you some money in wrestling. And what I mean by that is, one, you need to keep a book. And this book should talk about the amount of money you make at every single show. This book should talk about not just, like, it should be divided. There should be the amount of money you make from the actual booking versus the amount you make off of merchandise. And you save this entire book and you track it for the whole year. So that way, when tax season comes, you can show all of this. You can show, hey, this is how much money I made off of merchandise. This is how much money I made off of the actual work I did. But then you go deeper than that. Everybody in pro wrestling, especially when you're going out there to get in it, you have to drive to a show, you have to fly to a show, you have to put in that damn work, right? Well, when you're flying or when you're driving, save your receipts. Save your receipts for every single show you travel to. The receipts there, the receipts back. Save your receipts. Because those mileage that you put on there and that money spent can also be a tax write-off, both the money you spend and the mileage. But you want to make sure you save those receipts, because if you ever do get audited, you want to be able to show, hey, these are the receipts for the work that I put in. If you're really good with technology and you're bad with organization and keeping receipts, they have scanner apps. You can scan your receipts and save them in a file, even on your phone. Let's say you have an iPhone. I have an iPhone, so I know this. They have an iPhone scanner app. You can save it, and you can save it in your file to save your receipts, because you want to make sure that if anything ever happens, if you ever get audited, you have that backup for yourself. But the receipts don't just stop at the travel, because every time you go out to eat for a wrestling show, the Waffle House or Applebee's after the wrestling show, the McDonald's or gas station, haul on the way to the wrestling show. I don't care if you buy water, Gatorade, beef jerky, a Subway sandwich. If you buy wings from Sheetz or a dry ass quesadilla from Wawa, I don't give a damn if y'all prefer Wawa over Sheetz. That quesadilla almost took me out. I almost was on this podcast with y'all because that Wawa quesadilla almost choked me to death. What I'm saying all this to say is you save those receipts, because those are also work expenses. And with those work expenses, they're a tax write-off. Also, speaking of food and work expenses, every time you go out and you talk about wrestling while eating, that's now a working lunch or a working dinner or a working breakfast. So save those receipts too, because this could potentially be someone wanting to invest in your business. They want to buy a shirt. They want to sponsor you for a match. Or this is fans you're bringing to a show that could potentially help your stock in the company and get you more bookings. So also save those receipts, because those receipts are now your working lunches. They're now your working dinners, your working breakfasts, and those are also tax write-offs. You want to try to get as many of those tax write-offs as you can because they help you, but it does not stop there. So if you have a gym membership, which honestly, every professional wrestler should have a gym membership. I don't care what shape you're in. I don't care what your moveset is, what you're going for, what your look is. You should all have a gym membership because we got to make sure our cardio is where we need it to be. We need our strength to be where it needs to be. You don't got to have six-pack abs to be a great pro wrestler, but you do need to have the cardio and the strength to make sure that you can do what you do in that ring and keep people and yourself safe. With that being said, your gym membership is also a tax write-off. It's also a work expense. When you purchase wrestling gear, that's your work uniform. That's a tax write-off. That's also a work expense. When you buy supplements for you at the gym, that's also a work expense. Let's say you bought a meal prep program like Factor or Cleanings. Once again, these are all work expenses because they are going to the product that is you. See, that's what changes when you stop looking at yourself as a pro wrestler and start looking at yourself as a product. When you look at yourself as a product and as a brand, you change the way that you view this wrestling business. It's called the professional wrestling business, which means you have to be twice as much about your business as you have to be about the pro wrestling. You know, everybody wants to be a wrestler, but it's called the professional wrestling business. So just put yourself on game right there. I'm trying to put y'all on game. Hopefully y'all paying attention, y'all staying tuned in. I hope y'all taking notes. Y'all should be taking notes of this, or just play it back again because trust and believe, I'll take all the sound scans I can get, but you have to make sure that you are using these write-offs. So gym membership, your wrestling gear, every time you do wrestling gear. Oh, and when you buy merchandise, your merchandise is also a tax write-off. But make sure you save all of these receipts. Make sure you categorize them and you put them in areas, and then find you a tax person that can help you with these things. You know, I have a tax person that helps me with mine, and they help me get these write-offs. You'd be surprised the type of write-off you can get because you're tracking all this stuff and you're saving all your receipts, whether it's your driving receipts, your flight receipts, your food receipts, your food expenses, your merch receipts, your gym membership receipts, and the monthly times that you have to pay that, or the yearly times you have to pay that. There's so many different things that you can use as a tax write-off. I mean, hell, you could even potentially write off, let's say you buy like, you know, IWTV and you use it to watch footage. Now make sure that you aren't abusing this. You're using it to watch footage, because now it's a learning expense to further your education, or going to seminars. Seminars is also a tax write-off because it's a learning expense to help to better you in what you're doing. These are some of the things that people don't tell you and talk to you about in professional wrestling. I'm telling you all this because I'm trying to put you on game, because I'm wanting you to be in a better situation than you are right now. And when I'm always hearing referees and wrestlers and things like that talk about how they struggle with this stuff, here is a very easy way to combat it. We'll talk about a few more things to put you on game, because you know what? I'm thinking we're going to need a part 2. So another thing is, when you're doing all this stuff and you're making the money from wrestling or things such as that, open up a bank account that's just for wrestling. And I say this because it's very hard when we have wrestling money and we only have our regular bank account, because then we keep borrowing from ourselves, or we keep borrowing from wrestling. You can never truly pay yourself back. Do yourself a favor and do yourself a justice, and make sure that you open your own bank account that's just wrestling related. And then every time you get an envelope, every time you make some money off of merch, every time Pro Wrestling Tees or Brainbuster Tees or whatever sends you some money, you put that in that wrestling account. And also link that account to like your Venmo, your Cash App, your PayPal. So that way you can always directly send that money to those accounts as well. And you can also pay for stuff off of those accounts as well. These are the things you need to be looking into. And when I have some more time, Maybe I'll also talk to you guys about turning those accounts into high yield savings accounts. So that when you take your wrestling money, put it in a high yield savings account like Smarty Pig, which this is not a product placement thing. I'm not sponsored by them. I should be though. But like, put your money in an account like Smarty Pig and use that to allow your money to make money while you're saving up for gear or merchandise or whatever may have you. There are so many different ways to make money in professional wrestling, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a taste of how to make your money make money for you and how to make it work for you in pro wrestling. Now, some of the stuff I said, hopefully y'all got put on game and y'all were listening, y'all were paying attention, y'all hopefully took notes. Some people are going to say, well, that doesn't work for me, or I tried this and I tried that. I'm speaking from my personal experience, what I've seen work, and I've put other people on game and they did it and it worked, and I put other people on game and they didn't do it and they're still struggling. So, hey, fuck do I know? I'm just a pro wrestler. But I appreciate y'all for listening. And you know what? Like, share, subscribe, check out the IFHY page, check out all the different shows that we have going on. Give us that 5-star review if you like our stuff. Give us that 5-star review if you like what we did. And also, we're trying to get to a certain amount of followers because we got our man Grun, and we trying to get Grun to shave his head bald and get a head tattoo so we can get up to a certain amount of followers. He's gonna do it. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in. I'm glad we locked up. Now it's time for the go home. And now that we're at the go home, just remember that this is for wrestlers by wrestlers. I'm not here trying to beat you down. I'm not trying to, punch up or punch down. I'm just trying to uplift, because at the end of the day, this is what we all do. Sincerely, you're pro wrestling.